Yes.
My chest is on fucking fire, right? All of this, my respiratory, I've never breathed so better in my life.
Hello?
Oh, look at the background. Very. What's going on, dude?
Oh,
Yeah,
no, I know what that is. I know what that is. That's, oh my god, that's Outlanders. That's Outlanders.
Oh, is it?
That
It was
looks
just something
very
that.
much like Outlanders, man.
Yeah. It was something that was available on Skype, and I was just playing around.
Doesn't that look like Outlanders?
It's not called Outlanders. I know exactly what you're talking about. Outer World?
Oh, Outer Worlds. No,
Yeah.
it's very similar, man. Very similar.
That is what it looks like, though.
Solid game. That's the people that broke away from Bethesda.
Yeah. No. It's Obsidian.
Obsidian, okay. There you go.
Look how much disagreement's already going on. What's up, man? Been a long time. Been a month.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys been doing good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hanging in there, man. Hanging in there.
It's like the calm before the storm kind of thing. I feel like. I mean, I feel like here in a couple months, shit's about to get real. It's just my opinion.
Well, right around election time, typically things get a little chaotic.
So check this
But
out.
it's weird to have things already chaotic and then going into an election year. So you're right, things might peak off and get
What's
super fucking
What's
crazy.
really thrown me for a loop this year, and I remember calling it earlier in the year, and I was 100%, I was dead wrong, because I talked about COVID ending in July because of election stuff. There's usually, we should be seeing way more campaign videos and ads and stuff. That all should have started the week of July 4th. That's always when that happens. On an election year, the week of July 4th, they start running campaign ads for presidency and all that hard. And I haven't seen barely anything, bro. And we're like a couple months from November, like.
Yep. It's been really, really interesting watching what's going on. I mean, you got Trump has been putting out some stuff, and he's just been hammering the Democrats all the way across the board. I mean, he's been going after Biden and these other guys, all of them. I mean, he's just going after all of them with like these laser beam things, and the Democrats, they're not coming back with anything. You know, we've got a Senate race in my state, and the Democrat who's running has been literally running the same ads on YouTube, the exact same ads for 3 months now. He hasn't changed at all, and I don't know how much traction he's getting with it. It's not getting anything with me, but they seem to have this idea that they're just going to hammer one point, like if and their whole agenda is not Trump.
So let me stop you right there. And again, we haven't started the podcast yet. But I know the last time we had you on the show, I was trying to have you convince me, Johnny, and Jesse that Trump is the real deal. And I've been watching some videos, man, and there's a video that held true to me, and it was specifically in the 2016 debates when it was, Trump and Hillary were having a crossfire or whatever, and then Hillary had said something, and then he's like, "You're right, because you'd be in jail." And Trump campaigned so big on putting Hillary Clinton in jail and draining the swamp and all that shit. And Hillary Clinton is not in jail. And on the first presidential dinner or whatever it was, or one of the first White House corresponding dinners or whatever it's called, Trump literally, right after the election, he said, Bill and Hillary is here. Can you please stand up? Can we all applaud them? I respect you. We ran great against each other, and he just had nothing but good things to say about it.
Yeah, that's because that's campaigning, man.
No, I know that, but like that, if he's saying that he's going to put her in jail and then he still hasn't done it three almost 4 years later now, and then he's like, "Hey, stand up! I respect you. Can you please applaud her for like all this shit?" That doesn't make sense to me.
You're talking about a politician not holding true to their word and flip-flopping.
That's literally, he says those things
very political.
so that you will vote for him. If you're a hardcore Hillary hater.
No, we all know that, Donnie. I'm just trying to ask Dan, because I mean Dan knows how we feel, man, and I'm just curious about your thoughts about that.
Well, everything that I look at, like I said, I was not a Trump guy until after the election in 2016, and that's when all these alarm bells went off, and I really kind of opened my eyes to look at this thing a whole lot different. And one of the things that really struck me is how many of the political traps, like if you go back and you watch the way that the Democrats and the Republicans play off each other, and have for probably 100 years, they play off each other, and they when the Democrats control the Congress and the Republicans control the White House, the Republican president will say, this is an important bill, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it, even though I disagree with these particular things that are in there, because it's for the good of the nation, right? And they'll keep moving this stuff they both work together to move stuff down the road, right? Well, Trump seems to me, it looks like Trump sees those traps coming and just like short circuits them, right? And I think he does play some of the political game of public image and everything like that. But at the same time, he's doing some real stuff to combat the Democrats. And I think one of the things that's going to be a real tell is what happens with this post office legislation. What happens with all of that stuff? Have you all been following that at
I
all?
haven't heard anything about
A little bit, yeah.
Well, I get on Imager a lot. It's a very liberal website, and they hate on it quite a bit. But I'm not very well versed in it. But the whole point was, and where the liberals are attacking the whole thing was the guy that he put in place was somebody that gave him a lot of money to campaign with, and they were very heavily dogging on the guy because he had no experience in the field. It was just somebody who supported Trump through, like I said, through like financing his campaign or helped him finance his campaign and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also has a lot to do with the ballots that they don't want to go like have pushed through the mail, that will like heavily disrupt the postal service. I'm just saying very minimally that I just scroll through and just like read real quick. You
Mm-hmm.
probably know more than me though.
Well, that what the debate is, and they've been bringing it up on both sides. The COVID, we can't do in-person voting because of COVID, right? On the Democrat side, it's too dangerous. This is the worst virus ever in the world. In the history of humanity, it's going to kill us all. Blah blah blah, all that nonsense. And then on the other side, the Republicans are saying, or Trump is saying, that the potential for fraud with these ballots is huge, because what they're doing is basically they're just looking at the voter rolls and they're sending out ballots. Now these ballots that go out in the mail are live. So if you get one that comes to your house and it's not for you, if you're a dishonest person, you could fill that out and send it in, and there would not be any check on it. They would just look at it, look at their signature.
That's super messed up, because like I get mail all the time that's not mine, and I'm sure people get my mail. Like
Right. And that's and the thing is that they're going off the voter rolls, the registration. So the thing is that you have the potential that one party or the other is more efficient. One party or the other decides that they're going to go further back into their rolls, right? Instead of doing everybody who's currently on there, well, we're going to step back and we're going to do everybody who's currently on here plus 10 years, and we're going to send all of those out to those addresses, even though the person hasn't registered or re-registered, right? And there's been over the years, there's been lots of stories about this stuff happening, especially with people who live in New York and then move to Florida, right? There's been stories about these people finding out that someone is voting in their name in New York. Right? Now I can't remember the details about how it is that this was tracked down, but these reporters went to these people and they were like, "Were you aware of the fact that you voted in New York?" The guy said, "No, I haven't lived in New York for however many years. I haven't voted in New York since when I was living there." Right? And they don't have any way of tracing who it is that cast the vote, but his vote or these people's votes were actually counted in an election in New York, even though they don't live there anymore.
Man, voter fraud in the U.S. has been something so massive for so long, and I still go back to. And Dan, I know you're a real big proponent on the U.S. being really good and great, #1, and all this stuff, and I'm not disagreeing with that completely.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, we've talked about this before on the podcast. I don't think you were here for this one, but the fact that we are one of the only democratic republic countries that does not do public vote count kind of thing, to where literally you take Germany or something like that. In Germany, everybody goes, they vote on paper ballots, and then if you want to, you have the option to go to your local courthouse where those votes were cast or whatever, either on I don't know how Germany does their stuff, a state level, whatever you want to call it, your city, your state, whatever it is. You can go there and sit in and physically watch them count out the ballots.
Mm-hmm.
And then those numbers are added up right there in front of you. You have the public right to look at them yourself, all that. And there's tons of countries that do this. I'm using Germany, but there are tons of countries that do that. We're one of the only ones where not only do we not do that, we don't even offer something similar. There is literally, once you cast your vote, there is no way to have any kind of view, any public view on the counting.
Yeah, that's got to
Right.
change. I've been a big proponent, I don't know how you do it, of just live streaming, where the ballots end up at, And I think the biggest thing about what you said, Dan, was the fact that with everything in life going on in COVID-19 and all that shit, why we're not even, why mail-in ballot is such a big issue whenever people are still going out and just doing what they can and what they're allowed to do. And I think that when it comes to voting for who's going to lead this country or protect this country, or whatever you want to call it, we should still have that right. The pandemic hasn't killed all of us off. People still go to the grocery store. People still take their kids to school. Here in Missouri, it's starting tomorrow. The city that we live in, kids are going every day. And I firmly believe once it comes to ballot time, they're going to have the polls open. There ain't going to be no mail-in ballot in the city we live in. I can assure you of that, except for people who are critically ill or have a weak immune system, shit like that. But it shouldn't even be up for discussion, man. The riots and all that shit that's going on, and people are all out in mass gatherings, and now you have the Proud Boys against Antifa and all this shit. Just go and vote. Go and vote. We don't need any mail-in ballots. I'm not Trump. I'm not Democrat. I'm not any of that shit. People just need to go and vote, man. That's it.
What about the Electoral College? Because you had that big issue back in 2000 whenever Al Gore got the popular vote, but George Bush still won. So that's going to be probably the biggest argument for.
I am so glad you brought that up.
I can see Dan. I can see Dan right now. Dan's getting excited right now.
Hillary won the popular vote in 2016, but Trump won the Electoral College. It's the same shit.
Well, and I'm glad that you guys brought this up because the whole thing with Bush and Gore that was a scam. That was not real. Okay, that was something that they did to test us out to see what we would allow them to get away with. Bush and Gore already had the whole thing settled. Why do you think Gore, was going to send it to the Supreme Court? I'm going to make a big deal out of this, and he just gave up because they had already made a deal before all of this. The hanging chads, this was just a way to undermine the whole voting process that we have and make it so that we could go to these machines. The machines that we use are they're fraud-filled machines. There's all kinds of stuff that happens. If you've ever voted on one of those.
I remember the butterfly ballots, right? That was back in 2000. The butterfly ballots.
Right, the hanging chads where you had to punch, you had to use a pencil or something to punch the hole through, and there was some of them where multiple ones had been punched through, and so there was a little deedly thing hanging on there, and so they were like, well, we don't know which way to count it. And that's just a problem with the paper ballot. That's a bad system, right? All you got to do is change it to a different system. But what they wanted to do was they wanted to figure out a way to undermine any kind of paper ballot, any kind of thing that has a trail, because as soon as you go digital, there's no trail, right? Or the trail can be easily wiped out. And they've done this multiple times. If y'all follow election stuff, there are times when they'll say, okay, here's the election results. Somebody will contest it and say, oh man, we already wiped all the memory off the ballots to get them ready for this next election thing that's coming up, right?
And you run into that problem with computers, but I still stand by the fact that there will always be voter fraud. You will never fully get rid of it. It's going to exist any way you try to do ballots. Be it paper, mail-in, online, in-person booths, whatever. You're never going to fully get rid of voter fraud. There's ways to stem it a little and try to lower those numbers, but you're never going to. And even then, you have alternate ways of there's ways that you can literally subconsciously influence people on how they vote. The people who are unsure when they're going in there, kind of thing. There's stuff you can do around there. It always makes me think of. Have you guys seen Parks and Rec? Mm-hmm. It always makes me think. There's a scene in Parks and Rec, which is just a comedy show similar to The Office. Where it's like a county election or whatever, and if they've got these machines set up that this big company paid for, and if you go in there and vote for one person, if you vote for this person, it says, thank you for voting, and it drops out a candy bar. If you vote for the other person, it shows a sad face and says, are you sure? And gives you 3 different questions before you can actually vote for them.
Yeah. Well, and those computer ballots, they can be tampered with. That's a comedy example, but you can have real tampering like that. I had one that pulled up when I was living in Virginia Beach. I had one that pulled up, and I kept tapping on the screen to vote for a particular person, and every time I tapped on the screen, it would fill in a different box. So I figured, okay, it's a touch screen. Sometimes they get right. So I kept tapping around trying to figure out where the sweet spot was. Nowhere that I tapped would it allow me to vote for the person that I wanted to vote. It would always go into that other box, and I was like, this is just crazy. And that's the kind of manipulation that you get. But you're right. The real reason that we have a problem with voter fraud. And what you were talking about with these other countries that, have real easy ways to check on your vote and everything like that, is because voting in the United States actually means something. It doesn't mean anything anywhere else. The power in the government is somewhere else. So they let people vote. They want them to feel good about voting. They want them to do that so that they, go, okay, I've said my piece, blah blah blah. But here, elections have real consequences. You can change the entire government of the United States with an election.
I still think there should be public, there should be a way for the public to hold the ballots and the counters and everything accountable. There should always be that level of accountability. Jesse talks about accountability a lot in politicians, but not even just politicians, the actual voting process. There should be a way for a public, if I physically go in and vote, yeah, sure, I shouldn't be able to see other people's names. That should be anonymous. But when they're counted, I should be able to be there. That should be my right. Not that I have to be there. You could even make it sounds shitty, but you could even make it somewhat difficult. I have to fucking fly somewhere or something, which is shitty, because then you get into, poor people can't go, only rich people, you run into more stuff. But at least give us the option for the public to be there.
All right, because those it's important to know how many votes were there. For instance, I ran for mayor in Charleston, South Carolina. Okay, now I was not with either one of the political parties, and I ran as a write-in candidate. All right, now I don't know how much support I had. I don't know how many people voted. I had a number of people who told me that they voted for me. right? However, when the votes were counted, there was not a single vote for me. Not one.
Damn, Dan, you didn't vote for yourself?
Yeah,
I
was about to
did.
say.
I
That's
did.
hardcore.
I voted for me, and that was the issue that I brought up to the election board, which is interesting because that's a government agency that's controlled by politics, and you can't have our votes counted by the government because they have an invested interest in the outcome of that election.
So that goes into what you said just previously, is that in the United States, like, the system that we currently still have, it matters.
Mhm.
How can it matter when you have these corrupt systems that are controlling these systems?
Well, that's been the whole thing, is that they've been trying for the longest time to get everything under control. If you look back into history, and you guys tricked me, you said we were going to talk about, spirituality and all this
We're
stuff.
gonna get into it.
Which this is, man,
So-
we've talked
so
so
anyway-
much now, this might as well be part of the podcast.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's like,
it is
You
100%.
just didn't do the clap, so it's gonna be harder to line up the
we
audio.
can do it at the end when we're
No,
done.
it's easy.
So if you look back through American history, okay, really the source, the central place where we can go and look at the real root of our political problems is New York City, Tammany Hall and Boss Tweed from the late 1800s. And this was an extremely corrupt system that is still in place. I mean, it was a big controversy, a big scandal and everything with Boss Tweed, but it didn't end the machine. The machine stayed in place. And the machine in New York was so effective and so efficient that the Democrats, who actually controlled it, began to move it and put it in every major city and every state around the country. So that is really the source of the problems that we have, these political machines. But the problem, the thing that we have on our side is that even though they were able to get some pretty good control in New York City, this plan of theirs did not do well all the way across. Now, it did well in New York, it did well in Chicago, did well in Boston, and in those cities, one of the things that they did was they set up police departments that were controlled by the mayor, right? And they appealed to the poor immigrant populations, right? And bought their votes, basically. And they repeatedly did this over and over and over again, right? And they took it from city to city, from state to state, and then they took it national. Now, essentially, the two political parties have some very different philosophies and very different ideas if you look at them on paper. But essentially, there's a whole lot of people. There's the Democrat Party is pretty much an anti-American, authoritarian, leftist party, and the Republicans have a whole lot of those people in their ranks, like Mitt Romney. Right? These are people who literally, I mean, there's no other way to put it. They hate America, and they want to do away with the Constitution of the United States and bring all of us under the thumb of an authoritarian government. Now, they would prefer it to be a globalist one right now, but really and truly, if they could just get one that's national and then move us to a global government later on, they'd be fine with that. But
Yeah.
But at the same time, something that, because a lot of people would argue some of this, which I'm not disagreeing with you directly here, but a lot of people would argue, isn't that the most American thing you can do, is argue against how the nation is being run and how things are? Isn't that, like, in my...
I get what you're saying.
You know, like, that's really American, is to be super scrutinizing of your government from like not like a political, they're like a politician level doing that, but just from an individual like myself scrutinizing my government, because there's so much like red-blooded South, Texans who are like, man, that chant the USA, and I'm like, man, the United States isn't as good we're not the number. In my opinion, we're not the #1 country. We could be. We could be if we did things differently. You know. But so I'm talking about scrutiny in general of the country. You know.
Right. Yeah. Well,
sorry,
that's.
That may be too ambiguous. That might
Dan,
have been too
before you go into
ambiguous.
it, I think it's obvious that, I mean, scrutiny is a good thing, and what you're talking about is a beautiful thing, and that's what makes America the way it is. But for what is happening right now from the far left or from the Democratic Party, and how Dan just described that 100 years ago they're putting systems into place that would basically change the way that we do things now, that's what he's talking about. There's nothing wrong with scrutinizing any aspect of the government in any way, shape, or form. That's what America is, yes, 100%. But what is happening right now is it's a well-run plan that is looking to change it out of the Constitution of the United States of America. Am I right on that?
Right. Right. And the criticisms that you have going on are not really legitimate. Most of them are not really legitimate criticisms of the government. What they are is attacks. They're attacks on our Constitution, right? Like these protests that you see, these riots, right? So we have protests and we have riots. There's very few protests, and the protests have a small grain of legitimacy to them, right? But and people should be allowed to protest over stuff that they believe is wrong. But at the same time, you got to take the time to understand what it is that you're really protesting, and is it based in reality or not, right? Because you can look at what happens. We'll go with George Floyd. You can look at what happened with George Floyd and say, okay, that was wrong, right? And it's legitimately something that we should look at, but it is not epidemic. It is not a national crisis. It is not something. When you look at the facts of what happened, that is not a runaway epidemic thing. It very rarely happens.
Something that would be more epidemic-like would be like the IRS and what they've done to the country as a whole. And why hasn't Trump done anything to change what the IRS does and how they tax us and how that's even a thing? I think the IRS is an epidemic, and how much they tax the American people. That shouldn't even be an institution.
Well, you've heard some of the stuff that he's talking about. He changed tax day from April 15th to July 15th, right?
Due to the pandemic, yeah.
Right. And then what did he say too? When he's elected, he said that he is going to end, as of December 31st, he's going to end payroll taxes. That's the IRS's biggest leverage that they have with you, is they take all this money out of your paycheck, and then they expect you to ask for it back.
But did he say for forever? Is that what he said?
He said he's going to end it. He's going to end the payroll tax, and that's one of the things that the Democrats have been screaming about is, it's going to undermine Social Security and Medicare and all this stuff.
And that sounds sexy, Dan. It sounds sexy as could be. But he also said he was going to arrest Hillary Clinton, and he's done a lot of things that he said he was going to do. But he also said that. So just because we put him in doesn't mean that the payroll tax.
Can I go back to the George?
That's what I wanted to do.
Floyd thing, just for a second. Just to get some clarification there, because I find myself, I started out very liberal in my life, and I found myself going more Republican, like how I was growing up. My parents are extreme, not extremist, but very much on the right side of, and I'm not saying the right side, but as far as how they view how the country should be run, and I am fully backing of Black Lives Matters. Me personally, I think it's hugely important. So I just wanted to get maybe some more opinion. I don't want to clash with you too much here, but I just wanted we're friends here. We're friends here. I just wanted to maybe go a little bit more to that, because it's a really important issue, I think.
Well, I think it is an important issue, but the thing is that it's being used for political advantage, and it's being blown out of proportion. When you look at the statistics, right? When you look at the statistics for police shootings, or you look at the statistics for crime, right? The people who are committing the most crime get shot proportionally much less than people who are not committing the most crimes. And we'll just say that without putting any race into it.
No, absolutely.
There's groups of people. There's groups of people out there that put themselves in a position to be confronted by police, and when they do that, they have placed themselves in a position where depending on what they've done, they have put themselves in a position where the potential for violence against them is large. The potential for violence is huge.
Let me get this.
Okay.
Okay. I will give you that part. I actually agree 100% on that part. That is, you can keep yourself away from police and violent acts depending on how you're living your life. Other than the occasional catch-all, 1 out of every 1,000. Sometimes bad stuff happens to good people, and that's just you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. That happens. But in general, depending on the group of people you hang out with, all this kind of stuff depicts how close your police encounters are and all the stuff like that. The more you avoid that, the less likely bad things are to happen. That's purely numbers and statistics, like rolling dice. I do want to step back to the whole riots thing, and this has nothing to do with George Floyd. This has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. I just want to talk about riots in general and how, and this is one where, once again, Jesse brought it, I mean, we're friends, but I am going to straight up 100% disagree with you on this one. And that's the fact that you said it's about an attack on like the Constitution and stuff like that, as to where I see it more as it's an attack on the way America is right now. In a good way, though. Like, it's a good kind of attack. I think that people are finally, man, and I gotta be careful what I say here and how I step around toes and stuff, all this, but like, we were founded on revolution and all this different stuff. I think that people are finally getting to the point of the kind of stuff that we talk about every day on this podcast, or every week on this podcast, which is people are fed up with stuff. So yes, is the IRS issues more important? Yes. Are there other things like crazy level of corruption that are more important? Yes. But those are hard targets. Those are hard to find. Those are hard to throw a dart at. You know what I mean? Like, you can't target that specifically in a good way, or most people don't know how. But when an injustice is done on a public level, people can target that and be like, look, all of us are coming together as a people. Yes, riots are not the best way to do it all the time. Violence is not always the best way. I do believe that violence is necessary sometimes. I know that people say violence is never necessary. Some things in this world are not solved without violence. That's a hard truth that you have to learn and grow up. That's a real fact that has to happen. Anyways, riots and stuff of that nature that have to deal with, like the George Floyd thing, like other things that have happened like that, sometimes it's not about that specific event, but us as a people together being like, look, we are fed up with how stuff is being run and how stuff is happening. It's not an attack on the Constitution. It's not an attack on the president. It's not an attack on any of that. It's an attack on the thing as a whole. Is in like, look, we want change. We are crying out for help and giving you the option right now to say, look, we're in a bad place. You are not, if we're your children, if the public is your children, you are not taking care of your kids. Help us. And that's what it is, in my opinion.
Okay, so for me to just come off that a little bit, of being upset about things, anger is the first step to change, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure all four of us here doing this podcast would agree the first step to change is probably you got to get angry about something first.
Or passion. I wouldn't say anger. I would say
passionate. But then Robert Frost had a poem about what was heavier, whether or not I could quote that poem. But the problem with being so angry about things is that being angry doesn't necessarily give the resolve that you want to as well.
True.
It takes some knowledge and some wisdom backed by anger. So yeah, man, there's fucking that. I guess.
So the point I was trying to get at was that we as a public, we're not smart. Let's be honest.
No, a person.
That's a fucking Men in Black quote. A person is smart, but people are dumb, stupid animals. You get a whole bunch of people together, we're dumb as a society.
Things get crazy.
And since we're dumb, and I'm including myself in this, since together as a society, since we are dumb, it is easier, once again, to target these public offenses or grievances or whatever you want to call it. It is easier to target those and make a big deal out of those as a form of expressing our anger with the government instead of going after the IRS or something like that.
I can see that, but the thing that I come back to, and maybe I'm just on a different planet with this, is that if you try to use emotion to make change, you end up way off target, because emotion,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
emotion just gets ramped up and ramped up and ramped up, and you get more and more people together, and it just amplifies. But it doesn't have any logic behind it. It doesn't have direction. It's like the herd thing. You just drive it, and there's people who are good at doing that, who are good at driving these people, and that's what I see with all the riots. I don't see the riots as being a legitimate voice of something. I see them as people going out and being opportunistic and saying, okay, I have an opportunity now to go and loot Target, and I'm going to say that this is for some kind of injustice that I've suffered, when reality is no. The two things don't equate, and the vast majority of people don't have legitimate stories about police brutality. Now, and I can say that because I do have legitimate stories about police brutality. Okay, I have been illegally arrested.
Some things shine brighter in media, probably.
Yeah, because of media.
Because of media.
So does it make it any different though?
And I also wanted to bring this up because it's very frustrating, and this comes down to like the race war that was being built up, basically, that's happened in the past year with America, and that's very much what it is. Very frustrating to hear some things. Somebody very close to me had an opinion about whenever George Floyd died and the riots / protest started happening, and they were outspoken on how they felt about it, and they were told, you can't have an opinion on this because you're white. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that is fucking racist. That's racist. And there is so many things that are happening, which I'm not, oh man, this is going to be a rough.
You are confusing me right now, Jesse.
No, I get exactly.
This is a rough road to go down.
From what you said earlier, I'm not saying right now what you're saying, but now you're mixing the two and I'm confused.
Oh no, because the issue is important. But what it is fueling, and once again, it comes down to like this anger.
So the Black Lives Matter movement is not fueling racism, is what you're telling me. Okay. I have to be careful with my shit here. I'm going to go back to Dr. Viktor Frankl, who I quote quite a bit. He talked about, it is not about race, religion, color, creed, anything. You can be a bad person. You can be a good Nazi. There were good Nazis in Nazi Germany. That's not what defines you, is claiming something. It is up to you as an individual whether or not you're a good person and so
things like that.
Then why are you claiming something?
What are you talking
about?
I'm still going to attempt to be a good person.
Right.
No. I understand the movement. I still, right now, I completely understand the movement. I back the movement. But you see this fueling of some other shit that's happening on the bad side of it too. Everything comes at a cost, man. There is no pure good in anything. Everything comes at a cost. If there is just one pure fucking good thing that, oh man, we're gonna do this, and there's no negative fucking outcome, at least on a small percentage, it's a constant choosing of lesser of good evils, basically, within all of humanity. Nobody knows what the fuck actually is the right way to go down.
I get it, man. But Johnny, what you said...
People who will claim it will probably be fucking wrong, and it will change.
Johnny, what you said earlier, I never heard it like that. That was very... I loved it, man. And I get what is going on and why it's happening. But at the same time, nothing's changing with the IRS. Nothing's changing with the Federal Reserve. So these people can go out and they can loot and they can riot and they can go against each other, but it's not changing the fundamentals of what is actually wrong with this society.
That's the best point you've made. Is you're not looking at the fundamental issues that are happening here. These are symptoms. Argue whether or not Black Lives Matter is a thing, or politicians are corrupt. These are symptoms. These are symptoms. We're not getting to the core of what's actually wrong with things.
Right.
And everybody's too passionate in the moment or angry, whichever one.
Emotional.
It's a coin toss. It's emotional. Nobody ever gets down to the core, fundamental thing.
Because-
I'm not going to try to
so
give
here
you
you
the
go.
answer to this.
So
because I'm probably going to be wrong.
No,
Because right when I say something, I'm probably going to be wrong.
No.
Trying to get to fundamental humanity fucking issues.
The answer, and I told you guys this last week, was that the Smith-Month Act was relifted or whatever in 2011 that allows propaganda to be projected at the American people. Even if that wasn't lifted, they've been doing it for however long, man. And this is the outcome. They're able to project propaganda that at which point divides us, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, but that's always been a thing.
It's shitty. It's so shitty for me to sit back and watch like something like Black Lives Matter happen, which I legitimately think is something super fucking important to me. And I get it. We all have different morality. We all live different lives. We all see things differently. I think it's super fucking important, in my opinion. But also to see something that I see is super important also cause fucking negatives in my society too. So it's hard for me to sit back as an individual to go, oh man, do I fully back this? Or man, this is me critiquing this and try to pick and choose this one like sect of something that, oh man, we're gonna try to make the best out of this. We're not making that fucking attempt. Nobody ever steps back fucking far enough to realize we're all just fucking human beings just trying to I don't even know.
what do you got, Dan, on that?
Sorry, I got too passionate there. I didn't even know what to say. I
Well-
non-vetoed that last sentence.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is that so much of this stuff strikes an emotional chord within us. We see something, when we see an injustice, when I see something that's an injustice, I can't deal with it all the time logically. I mean, we've talked about this like with the human trafficking, the child trafficking. That is a subject that my emotions get way too involved in that.
You want to watch some motherfuckers burn, right? There's only one time in my life when you want to watch a motherfucker burn.
And I do it myself.
Evil shit, right?
I would do it myself.
Right? I'd help you. I'd light the match, man.
And so, when we look at this stuff, the thing that gets me is, and this is what I try and look at with all of this stuff, is who's trying to convince me and what is their agenda? They're trying to get me emotional over what? Right? Because when I'm emotional, they can manipulate me. But when I'm logical, when I'm standing on facts, that's a solid spot to be in. You can't hardly move anybody on that. When you know your facts, when you know what really happened, there's not a whole lot of give. But if they can turn this into an emotional situation, then it does become something like that, right? And that's where we are right now. Is that the facts have all gotten lost in all this emotional stuff. The Black Lives Matter, right? It's the slogan and the political movement are pushing an agenda, right? And the agenda that they're pushing is not lining up with the words Black Lives Matter. You get what I'm saying? Is that if you look at what Black Lives Matter does, and then you look at Chicago, right? What is Black Lives Matter doing about that? They would rather take a situation that happens rarely and blow it up into a big deal, and rather than saying, okay, look, police brutality is an issue and we need to take steps to stop this from happening, they've said police violence against black people, black males specifically, has got to stop, right? But they don't address any of the other issues that go around it, especially when they get brought up, and it's it's right there plain to see. 97% when you talk about Black Lives Matter and you start talking about black on black crime. Now I don't like getting into the whole race thing. I don't think we ought to be dividing this stuff up according to race, because it just ends up muddying the water and making it so that it becomes a racist thing, right? But when you start looking at the statistics for crime and race, males that are 14 to 27 are responsible for committing most of the crime.
You want to know why that is? You want to know why that is? Because it's testosterone. It's testosterone. They've done studies. They've done studies. So you peak in your early 20s with testosterone. It literally follows crime rates in males.
But you know what else follows?
So emotionally, hard dick driven to do things. You do stupid shit. Man, probably everybody in this room right now, has done stupid shit in their early 20s because you have testosterone driven, trying to peacock and do stupid shit, and then now you have to fight other people, and that's a very male thing. That is a very male testosterone driven thing.
There's two different things going on there. Males do stupid shit all the time, right? Like if all of us were hanging out together and we were all doing stuff, we would probably end up getting into or saying some stupid shit. We might even get into a fight.
I might arm wrestle you. Arm wrestle you, Dan.
Right. Okay. But that's a far cry from going out and committing crimes. That's a far cry from us going and saying, okay, hey, you know what? That little prick down the road, we need to go and beat him up. Right? And all four of us saying, okay, so the testosterone is a factor, but the real issue is the fact that we have a huge population of people that don't have fathers.
Oh, absolutely.
And when you don't have that direction and men are left to make decisions on their own, young men especially, when they're left to make decisions on their own, that's exactly right. Terrible.
I would almost go on ahead and take it a little farther to say that that's an educational issue, because fathers are supposed to teach their sons, right? Your dad teaches you how to shave, teaches you how to mow the lawn, teaches you how to throw a baseball, right?
Right.
That's an educational, and the whole point of parenting anyway is to adapt children to social experience with other human beings and how to appropriately interact with other human beings. That's the sole parent, or the sole job of a parent. If you really break it down, your one job as a parent is to get your kid ready to interact with other human beings. That's it.
Right.
If you really want to break it down to the core of it, that's what it is. And if you lack that in some way or didn't have good direction, that causes a massive amount of problems.
And the thing is that if you go across the board, right? If you go across the board and talk to people about times that they remember from when they were children, the people who had fathers in the home, if you talk to them about times that they remember that they messed up, whether their father actually was physically intimidating or not, most people will say, yeah, my dad terrified me. And it doesn't even have to be a situation where that male presence commits any kind of physical action. But it's just the fact that men, we make rules and we say, okay, look.
Snap the belt, man. My dad used to snap the belt.
Same.
My dad never spanked me once, man. My dad never spanked me once, but he would smack that belt and I would, whoa, oh, I'm changing all of my shit now. New directive now.
It comes down to, and I don't know, I want to kind of add to that just a little bit, Dan, is just, men play a role and women play a role, especially when it comes to being a parent. And when you don't have one or the other, whether or not you don't have your dad or your mom, it's going to fuck you up mentally, man. growing up as
does.
a child and in the most important times of your life is going to build you to who you're going to be as a person. If you don't have one or the other, it doesn't make, that is going to mentally have an effect on the rest of your life. And I think when it comes to Black Lives Matter, and we're having this conversation, when you go into inner cities and you go into Chicago or downtown Kansas City, or you go into these cities where it's predominantly black people, they don't have fathers.
Mm-hmm.
And what Dan is saying is that Black Lives Matter is not attacking that problem. They'd rather do a social injustice on a rare occurrence where someone dies by the hands of the police officers.
That's on us as a society, though.
But what he said,
it's more on us as a society to come in and help these people, right? Help.
But what did that person tell you, Jesse? They don't want your help. You don't have a say in it. You know what I'm saying?
I know that's once again, that's a small majority.
I know that's one person.
Or a minority. That's a small minority of the group.
I know that's one person.
But it's frustrating to hear.
And I think the issue lies with there, and you can go back to the 60s and 70s, whenever all segregation started ending and all this shit started happening, and the government had a role to play in why we have this issue now, when we don't have fathers in those communities, and it happens with white people too, and Hispanics and Asians and shit like that. But I don't know, man. It's just
Asians and shit like that.
It's very deep, and it's a very big issue. And in these communities, you're right. The father's not there, and this is why you see a lot of crime. And man, Chicago, they've broken records. Kansas City, they've broken records with crime rate. We had a friend who got ran over, man, after he saw a guy get shot in the head. Well, he didn't get to see the guy shot in the head, but he literally saw his brains and shit like that. Man, something has to change and something has to give. And I think the way that we're doing it, when we see a social injustice by the force of police, and then you have a movement step in, that's not the way. And you can see that it's not the way, because what has changed in the past few months? Nothing has changed. You have seen more divide in the past few months than I have seen in my whole fucking lifetime. So this is not working. This is not working at all. There's no movement that is working and changing people for the better.
I think the big issue is the movement is begging for change, because like I said earlier, like anger comes first. But anger is being directed slightly more. We're not going deeper and actually, like, you're putting a Band-Aid over the fucking wound. There needs to be bigger change within some things. We're not handling this shit correctly as a community, as a society, as a nation. We're not handling this correctly. And I think the biggest thing is we don't realize we're all in this fucking ship together.
Right, but here's the thing: is that what is the issue? What is the issue that needs to change? That's not being spoken about at all. What is the issue that needs to change? I mean, if we're going to be talking, right?
That's the big one.
If we're going to say,
man, I hope you got it, because that's rough to pinpoint.
If we're going to say that all these riots are about police brutality, right? That's an issue that we can discuss and we can work towards correcting, because there is a lot of stuff that needs to be reformed about the police. And one of the biggest things that needs to be reformed about the police is that they need to be taken out of control or away from the control of the mayors. They do not need to be controlled by these mayors, because in that respect, they become political organizations. And one of the things that we've consistently seen is that there are police that get put into situations repeatedly where they have to make a choice between following orders or following the law, right? There are plenty of times where the police look at a situation and it comes down to, this is going to cost me my job. I need to go ahead and make this person do this, otherwise I'm going to lose my job.
Can you explain, so all mayors have technically control over police officers? Is that what you're implying?
The police chief answers to the mayor in pretty much all cities. And so, like you saw in Seattle, right? The police chief decided to retire. She got sick of the whole thing and she just decided to retire because she had been told to stand down. She'd been told to let those rioters have their way, right? And there were the 911 center was so flooded that they just stopped answering calls. They didn't answer calls because the mayor had told them that they couldn't respond. They couldn't do anything to limit these activities that were happening. And when people were calling in with legitimate concerns, somebody's breaking into my house, somebody just set a fire, somebody just got shot, the police were not able to respond, right? And that was a political move by the mayor of that city. And I'm sure that you guys had the same thing in Kansas City.
It was actually surprising. There was a few days of peaceful protests, and that was it. I think a few buildings.
People did get arrested during the protests.
A few, but not. It wasn't. You didn't see it on it. I mean, Kansas City was surprising.
Compared to some other cities, we did a decent job.
There was a few buildings.
A
few buildings got looted, but it wasn't on a mass scale. You wouldn't drive down the plaza and see boarded up buildings. Like, it's still open now. Like, it wasn't crazy by any means.
Well, we had here in Charleston, our commie mayor told the police not to interfere with the rioters, and they went down some of the major merchant areas, business areas of Charleston, and rioted and looted. And they were basically given free rein. The cops were nowhere to be seen, and these business owners didn't have any recourse. So all the stuff that's going on, what is the issue? What is the main purpose and drive of all of this? Because it can't be police brutality. George Floyd died in May.
And
we're almost in September.
Well, if you would have listened, and before you go, Jesse, sorry. If you would have listened to the podcast we did when it was the semi-drunk revolution talk, and Johnny broke it down when we were outside, then when we came back inside, and I was hesitant to have that to upload that podcast, but Johnny, he put it best. He's like, if what's happening right now, if it were to stop in a couple months and nothing were to change, then he's like, I disagree with all the protests and all the riots.
100%.
He's like, but if it continues and it continues and it continues and eventually leads to the doorsteps of the issues that faces America head on, and we actually change that as a society or as America, he's like, then it is worth it.
What needs to change?
No,
what needs to change?
That's the hard part. It's different in everybody's opinion, right?
I think with the podcast that we've had is getting back to the original foundation of what the Constitution is. I think that plays a big role. And this is just my opinion. I don't have all the right answers at all. But just getting back to that would be a start. Getting rid of the IRS would be a second start. Not taxing people, not having personal property tax, not having income tax, not just taxing out the ass when you're getting 30% of your, just small shit like that, better education.
Federal government has too much power.
Yeah, all of that. I mean, I guess what this podcast is about is what we.
It's basically the federal government having too much power. At the end of the day, is a big issue that trickles down into a whole bunch of other issues.
And the thing too, with the Constitution, okay. This is the thing that is amazing about the Constitution, is that the Constitution puts restrictions on government, state, local, and federal, all of them, right? And it's restrictions that are placed on the government for our benefit, right? It's for our benefit. It's to make sure that the government is only handling those things that are best handled by the government, right? Which is like national defense and issues that affect the entire country. So the federal government doesn't have any business at all getting involved in things that happen in New York unless that affects the whole rest of the country.
And it hasn't, but I would say, and sorry, you asked the question, but military budget would be another one. The massive amount of money that the military spends.
But then you get in some huge scrutiny of how everything is connected, which it is, right? Like almost not nearly as much as like a butterfly effect would be. You obviously know what a butterfly effect is, right? Like a butterfly flaps its wings and creates a hurricane somewhere else. So then you have to decide the fine line of what is the difference of actually affecting this and the separation of it, which I feel like the federal government has had to come in and do so much and say, no, this is what we're doing. We don't give a shit about what the states are doing. We're gonna do us because we're the higher. Nobody's policing them. Right. That is my biggest issue. I'm I'm a libertarian. I do not like the federal government at all. I think a bunch of power needs to be drained from them. But it sounds weird saying that over a mic because I'm worried about how much is being listened in on by the federal government. But I don't give a shit. They can come after me. Fuck it. I'm saying what I feel. So.
I think,
and they keep all the stuff monitored, so they're paying attention. They're paying attention to what we're saying. It's the NSA keeps records of all the stuff, and that's not conspiracy theory. That's
that's proven fact.
Right.
Edward
Snowden.
Yep.
Snowden, however you say his name.
Snowden.
Right.
No, he's still at large, man. Supposedly a terrorist to the nation, right? But shed a whole bunch of light on how you give a portion of the government too much power and too much money, and then look at what they do with it. It's not for the betterment of everyone. It's for the betterment of themselves.
But we've been told that it's for our protection. We've been told. It's been sold to us like that, right? The NSA and the CIA all came about, in post-World War II because of the Russians and the Cold War and all this scary stuff. And we let that happen. We weren't alive at that time, but we as Americans let that happen, right?
Man, I know this is almost switching subjects, but whatever happened to the argument with North Korea? You remember that, like early Trump presidency? There was all this scare about North Korea.
It's still there. It's just not in the media because there's other stuff going on right now.
Yeah,
little Rocket Man's been quieted.
Allegedly, he's in a coma and his sister's taking over.
That's the
Dude,
story.
that was like fucking 6 months ago.
But
He's fine now.
Jesus Christ.
Fine, but at the same time, Trump, and again, not Trump. I'm not any of that shit. He was the only president, right, to actually step foot in North Korea.
And he did. This is the thing: is that he takes these traps that they set for him, because you remember coming up to the election of 2016, right? North Korea was the big boogeyman. We've got to elect Hillary Clinton because if we don't, it's going to be war with North Korea. It's going to be World War III. And we've got to have somebody in there who has experience and knowledge and blah, 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 and all that nonsense. And if she had gotten in, I'm convinced that we would have gone to war with North Korea. And Trump stepped in. North Korea has been a problem for a long time, right? With the communist Chinese help, they've been working diligently to create their own nuclear weapons. And supposedly they got them, right? So they're a nuclear power, which puts them in the category of a superpower because of the amount of people that they can kill with just one bomb. Trump went over there and he said, look, I'm putting an end to this. This has gone on long enough. We don't need to be enemies. I'm going to make sure that you understand what the situation is, right? You have continued to behave in a particular way that puts us ill at ease. And I understand that you're ill at ease, so let's see if we can't figure out a way to just quash this entire argument and settle things down. And North Korea has been settled.
Well, I've always had something that is probably slightly more simplistic than what you said, but world economies are too intertwined. I've been saying this a lot on the podcast. The world economy is too intertwined to have another world war. People are panicked about, World War III is going to happen, all this shit. No, it can't happen, because if you bomb one country, you are literally ruining your economy on one end. And everything is financial first. We know this. We're a capitalist nation. Everything is finance first. And I know that's dismal for me to even say, because I don't know how you rework it to where it's not, but this is what's working now, and I still believe in capitalism. But you can't have a World War III, because if you attack another country, and you bomb them out, like with maybe if you just invaded them, you might be able to get away with it, but you can't nuke a whole area, because then that affects your economy negatively.
Not as much as you'd think. Not as much as you'd think. America is the economic engine of the entire world. We're the only nation that has a significant population
You think
of
China's
consumers.
Second? You think China's second?
No, because everybody that's over there buying stuff in China is doing so because it's being propped up by the government.
Okay.
The government is the source of the economy. The government over there is the one that takes in all the money and then redistributes it. When you talk about other places around the world, and you start to look at their populations for real, they have devastating poverty. We don't have real poverty here in the United States. I mean, we probably have a few people like in the Appalachian Mountains and stuff that are so far back there that they just don't have access to real economic solutions.
No.
But as far as like the populations of the world, there is nobody in the world. Everybody wants to sell their stuff here because they don't have a real market in their own countries.
It's weird for you to put it that way, that we don't have poverty here, and I'm almost agreeing with you here, because we don't have poverty like the way that other countries have poverty.
Yeah.
We do have issues with addiction and debt, and debt, to where
Right.
people don't know how finance works, and they get in over their head and they make horrible financial decisions, because you have to play by the capitalist game, which still works for everybody to an extent, even though there's been a lot of things that still is like widening the gap between the average everyday man and like CEOs, which once again, I don't want to come from a socialist mentality here with that, and not even to get into that. I don't even want to get into
That's my job.
Yeah, that's Johnny's job.
Well, if you think about it, real quick on this, not to interrupt you, but I'm going to lose this thought. The only people that you can put in debt are people who have something.
Yeah.
We're the
Oh,
only people
you're
on the
right.
planet who have something. Nobody else has anything. If you go to South Africa, if you go to Britain, if you go to Germany, if you go to Russia, the people who have stuff, who actually control the money and the resources and everything, is a handful of people, right? And they control the whole rest of the population. Here we have debt because we actually do things. We can actually be given. We can actually go out and buy real things. Land. Right? Land. You can't do that anywhere else in the world.
But you can buy
And,
land,
and
you can't
actually,
own it, though.
well, that's something that we need to change. That is one
I
thing
agree,
that we need to
100%.
change.
Should
The
be able to
government,
own our fucking land.
right, and not have the government be able to tell us anything that we can do with it. Right? They can't tax us on it, and they can't restrict our use of it.
So we have work to do, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And this is where I like to however you feel about the way that I talk about the Constitution, and however you feel about what my interpretation of it is, the thing that I think is most foundational and fundamental to it is it gives us a plan, and it says, okay, look, let's implement this, okay. Because we can all sit down and read it, and we can all agree pretty closely about what it says and what can and can't be done, right? And let's implement that, and then see what problems we have, right? Rather than going in like the direction that we seem to be being pushed with going into the direction of socialism and just more of this big government. Just let the government take care of everything. Well, that's not a plan. That's not a solution. Because the more government that you have, the more problems that you have. Because government doesn't solve problems.
Us as true-blooded capitalists right now, we work for what we have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was ever given to us. I mean, you have an inheritance, but or not saying you in general, Dan, but just people can get inheritance. But for the most part, you work for what you have, and if you put in more work, you're able to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you feel about the bailouts? Is that socialism?
Are you talking about the bailouts of the big corporations, or are you talking about
Absolutely.
the bailouts?
You can even go back to 08.
We actually
You can go back
talked
to
about
08.
this. We talked about this last time with Dan.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we did? Oh man, I don't want to tread on previous.
We
ground.
definitely did, 100%.
Yeah.
We talked about the
Oh, okay.
the airports and everything.
Okay, I don't want to go back to previous ground there. But that's one thing that's always confused me so much.
I think there's nothing to be confused about. We see every day with bailouts and with COVID and everything that's happened with COVID that you see these big corporate and like you talked about in the podcast before, and Dan was just trying to explain why he thinks it's necessary to have the bailouts for those big corporations. I believe we just continuously see that, and then we see breadcrumbs, right?
Right.
And then
it's our money.
Yeah,
it's our money.
So I think like it's just weird to be in a situation where the Constitution isn't even implemented in our lifetime, honestly. Like fully to the extent of what it truly is. In our lifetime, we've never seen it be that.
That's the point that I was going to make, or that I was going to bring up, and that I think that a lot of, not only our viewers, but ourselves and other people around the nation don't realize is that, Dan, when you talk about the Constitution, you're talking about the actual paper and everything it says and following it to a T, which I agree with. After reading it, I talked about this last time, I actually went to the site, I read it and everything, and it's easy to read compared to other documents. It's easy to read. There's a couple of confusing parts, but I'm talking 3% of it's confusing. You know what I mean? Like 97%, easy to read, and I agree with it 100%. I think the issue, though, at hand is that people don't realize what the Constitution is, and at the same time, I think even you maybe, Dan, might be a little infatuated with it to a degree of it's unrealistic, because I don't think that we'll ever achieve, that's not the world we live in right now. Mm-hmm. We are a great country and we have potential to be a great country because of the Constitution, but the honest to God truth is we are not following the Constitution in any way. The avenue that we have to take to get to follow the Constitution is murky and shaded, and we don't know how to even achieve that as a people. So we're not living under the Constitution right now, which is why America maybe is not the greatest, but has the potential to be. I love the Constitution, but we do not uphold the Constitution right now. The government doesn't uphold it. We as a people don't uphold it.
Well, and the thing with the Constitution, one of the things that's really important to remember with the Constitution is it's a contract between all of us. The government is not a party to the Constitution. The government is created by the Constitution and is subject to it. It is not a party to it, and it doesn't get to have a say about anything in the Constitution. So when the Supreme Court interprets the Constitution, they're doing something illegal.
I agree with you, and that's my point, though, is that nobody knows that. If you go ask people on the street right now, go ask your neighbor, go ask random people at your work, nobody knows that. Nobody knows that it's a contract between us and that the government has nothing to do with it. And that is the inherent flaw, is that since nobody knows that and nobody is aware of that, we're not following it. So yes, it is a great piece of paper, but once again, man, this is a bad example. I'm actually not going to go there. I'm not going to do that. It is a great piece of paper, but as of right now, that piece of paper is nothing but a piece of paper. Unfortunately, I would love for it to be more. Don't get me wrong. I would love for it to be more. But to act like it's more right now is, in my mind, I can't think of the word. But in my mind, it's gullible.
There are like threads and needles that the Constitution is holding on to, right? Certain
it's just the Constitution is a great piece of paper, but right now it's a piece of paper, and that's all, because we don't follow it.
I would go further to say that it's more than just a piece of paper. I think that there are certain amendments that we hold on to that you can still hold on to in a law of court.
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying? There's still parts of the foundation of the Constitution that we can still hold on to. But I completely agree with you, Johnny. Like, Dan, no one knows what you just said. Like Johnny said, like you walk up to anyone, man. I would go as far out to say as 90% of the population would not know what you just said, man.
Right.
That's where we're out.
That's why you guys have mentioned, and I've kind of gotten the feeling that when we have these conversations, you guys feel deflated at the end of it, and I feel energized at the end of these conversations, because it has been a lonely road talking about this stuff because of exactly what you're saying. 99% of the people in the United States have no clue what the Constitution says. They know maybe one or two of the amendments, the first and second, maybe, and outside, and they don't even fully know the Second Amendment. right? They don't even fully know the Second Amendment or the truth of the First Amendment, right? So you've got people who, as soon as you bring this stuff up, they go, you know, are you a lawyer? You know, that's not what the Supreme Court says. Or, yeah, why don't you try that? And it's like, do you understand that the Constitution is America? That is America, the Constitution. Without the Constitution, there is no America. Right? Period.
I agree, man. We are a little bit over an hour. Dan, if you want to stay with us in this beautiful segment that's about to happen, you are more than welcome. But to my knowledge right now, Johnny and Jesse are about to eat the world's hottest chocolate. It's about to happen, man.
Oh man, I'm actually a little scared.
So whenever they showed up to my house tonight, Jesse's like, "You're doing it," and I said, "Absolutely not," because I have eaten so much hot shit in my life that I know what is about to happen to both of them. And there's an agreement once they leave my house, we're going to play video games, but I don't even foresee that happening because this shit is about to be so hot.
What's in it?
I mean, it's basically there's like pure capsaicin and chili extract. I'll throw it out some numbers. Has everybody here heard of the Scoville scale, which is the measure of heat?
Oh, he's from the Carolinas, bro. He knows what's up.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So jalapenos are, like banana peppers are like 1,000, which is basically nothing, not hot at all. Jalapenos are right around 10,000.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah. Okay. So jalapenos are right around 10,000. You get up into like serrano is like, I'm messing up these numbers, 50,000, something like that. The whole habaneros are like 100,000. Habaneros are super hot. They're like 100,000. Ghost chili peppers are super hot. The hottest pepper known to man, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, they're supposedly once hotter, like Pepper X and stuff. The hottest pepper right now, according to Guinness World Records, is right around 1.9 or 2.1, right around 2 million Scoville units. That's the Carolina Reaper, the hottest pepper known to man, according to Guinness Book of World Records. 2 million Scoville units. This is 9 million.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 9 million.
It's 9 million. It's pure capsaicin extract and all that. Pepper spray is 12 million. But that's like
holy
if you were to eat it, like to spray it, like
in your mouth,
on your tongue.
into your tongue, pepper spray will be like 12.
This is 9 million.
This is
So
9 million.
literally, what is that?
Okay.
Four times Carolina Reaper.
Paul, you
All right.
sure you don't want to do it?
I can't miss this whole. I gotta plug my computer in. I gotta see this.
Right. I'm gonna go grab a drink already because I know this is gonna be
I
bad.
literally brought over, like I love hot stuff. I literally brought over
No,
like
I did too. Bust
fucking.
it out. Bust it out.
I literally brought over like ice cream bars in Paul's freezer so that I don't
I'm gonna
fucking
go ahead.
die.
I'm gonna go ahead and get
I'm
them.
gonna go grab those ice cream bars because you're gonna need them.
No, I got them. I got them.
They're in the freezer upstairs.
All right.
Reconnecting. There's a poor network connection. Yeah, I'm not excited about this, man. I was all pumped up until the actual moment.
No, I don't. I love hot, man. I love hot. I even really enjoy like habanero based salsa. I'll take like 3-4 scoops of that. This is gonna be insane.
And by the way, anybody out there can think I'm a pussy or whatever. I'm only eating one little. There's like 9 little squares here.
Do you want to split a square?
No, I'm gonna eat a whole square.
Fuck.
You
Then I
can
have to
eat a
eat a
whole
whole
square, too.
fucking square.
There's like 9 little squares here. I'm only gonna eat one square, and you're gonna be like, "What? That's a tiny ass chocolate bar. Why are you only eating one square?" Literally, Google it, look it up for yourself, and you will see that everybody only does one square because it's insane. And that's the point, is to share it and like give it to other people.
Man, this is what we have to do for subs, man.
Yeah. I'm just doing it
Is he
because I
still
wanted to
on?
do it for fun. I didn't even originally want to do it on the podcast.
Is he still on?
He's connecting his computer or whatever, so maybe like disconnecting, blah blah blah. He got disconnected from Skype. So we'll wait for a second. I'm gonna go show this to the camera so they can look it up themselves.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited to hate my life. Go ahead and pop over the whiskey too, because if I'm gonna be miserable, I might as well be half drunk while I do it. Can you that bottle of bourbon?
Whoop, whoop.
You wanna get Dan back? Yeah, he.
All right. Sorry about that.
It's all good. to do this with us?
Join in on the experience.
I am absolutely 100% positive.
Actually, you know what? So we need to take advantage of this because Paul's not doing it. Paul needs to make this interesting and then ask us questions as we're in horrible,
We'll see
agonizing pain.
We'll see how painful it is
Or
first.
Dan can ask us questions as we embark on this. Probably, man, I regret a lot of things in life.
You're gonna
Oh.
regret
This might be
one.
top 10.
Yeah, you're
might
gonna-
be in top 10.
You're gonna really regret this tomorrow.
The fact that it's like
Man.
8 times hotter than Carolina Reapers or it's 4 times hotter, or whatever. Supposed to just do one little square, trying to get me one. Oh god, there's extra on there. Fuck it. There you go, Jesse. You get yourself a square.
It looks so innocent. It looks
It does.
so fucking innocent, man.
Bro, I got like a square and a half, and I'm not about this life.
I got a score and a half too.
Fuck.
Hold on, we're being told to hold off. I don't want to have it melt in my hand and then accidentally touch my eyes.
That's what I'm worried about, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
Be careful with that. For
Yeah, I
sure.
don't want to do that.
Okay.
This one has cigarette ash all over it somehow. I
I'm
don't
getting way too amped for this. This could be lame as fuck.
No, it's definitely not.
Oh, doubt it.
It's definitely not going to be lame.
know. I doubt it.
So,
Oh.
ladies and gentlemen of Talk Junkies, we have Dan from the ConstitutionOfUS, US, joining us as well.
Good.
Johnny
job,
and Jesse are about to eat the fucking hottest chocolate in the world here on Talk Junkies. We're not live, but we are in my basement. Good luck, gentlemen. Good
Alright,
luck.
I'm gonna eat it, chew it up,
Cheers.
all that. Cheers,
Just do
bro.
it.
Cheers,
Just do it.
cheers.
Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah. Make sure you chew it up real good. Don't swallow it early.
That's not that bad.
Yeah, it's super hot.
It's not that bad right now. You just wait.
I can feel it in the back of my throat a little bit. It's not as bad as I thought it would be, but maybe it's gonna hit.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, it's gonna hit.
Uh
There's a
huh.
little piece of it in my teeth still, which I'm not a big fan of. Oh god, hiccups.
Oh fuck.
You gotta wait. How does it feel right now, Jesse? How does it feel?
See, this is the kind of stuff that we're talking about with testosterone.
Yes,
This
yes,
is
exactly.
this is the kind of bad decision that testosterone makes.
Jesse was talking about earlier.
Oh man.
He's like, dude, I've been so tight. If I knew Dan was coming on this week, we could have sent some to his house so he could have taken it with us.
It's not that bad.
Oh, the hiccups are the only part that's bothering me.
Oh wow, it's really peaking.
What do you mean peeking?
The worst isn't supposed to happen until 6 minutes in, by the way.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh god.
So is each individual piece 9 million Scoville?
I don't know, bro. I can't do math right now.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, there's no. Yeah, that's it, man. They might.
Are you feeling it in your mouth, or are you feeling it in your throat,
I'm
or in
feeling
your
the top of
stomach?
my throat. Oh god, Jesse's like drooling. Bro, are you good?
I'm fine. I'm not going.
I got a spit.
You need some whiskey?
Yep. No.
Right
No.
there.
Fuck. No, I'm not doing nothing. I'm sure you expected a better reaction, but I really actually
That's
can handle
so
hot
hot.
food. I can handle hot food. Oh, that's miserable. Who the fuck would ever want that? Oh my god.
Yeah, don't touch your eyes, man. Don't touch your eyes.
Good call. Good call. Ah, fuck. Jesus Christ.
So are you feeling it? Are you feeling it in your mouth, or
It is. Picture where they had to drop the ring in at Mordor. That's my esophagus right now. Whew. Oh my god, dude, it's in my stomach now. I feel it in my stomach now.
Mm-hmm. Just wait, guys. Tomorrow is gonna be the worst.
It won't be tomorrow. It's going to be here shortly. It'll be in the fetal position. That's already in the
Dude, the roof of my mouth is.
It's all good. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Every time I breathe, it hurts.
So you ever wonder what it'd be like to get a colonoscopy? You guys are about to experience that tomorrow.
With no anesthesia.
Nothing.
Jesus, fuck. Wow. That'll wake you up in the morning. I'm about to do another one. Ah.
Are you really going to do another one?
Every time I breathe,
I'm tempted.
Every time I breathe, it hurts. Every time I breathe, it hurts. Oh God.
You're good.
Do not do another one, Jesse.
6 minutes in is when it's supposed to peak, and you haven't hit 6 minutes yet.
My chest is on fucking fire, right? All of this, my respiratory, I've never breathed so better in my life. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh.
See, this is testosterone. This is testosterone right
I
here.
think I'm good. I think I'm good.
Somebody's fucking filming a goddamn Christopher Nolan movie in my stomach right now, is what it feels like. Fucking shit on my dick.
I feel like I suck Satan's dick.
Oh my God.
That's it?
No, dude, the waves are crazy, dude. I eat hot food. The waves on that one is insane.
Like the habanero ranch.
I love the habanero.
No, that's not.
I love the habanero. Oh.
I just need to be able to spit constantly.
There's no way that's 9 million Scoville, man. You guys would be fucking...
Dude, no,
I like hot shit.
I love hot shit, dude. I know hot shit, dude.
Man, you don't believe me? Watch other YouTube channels that are doing it, bro.
Paul, do it. You're a little bitch, dude. Just
I'm
do
not
it.
a little bitch. I did Casey Smokeburger Challenge, bro. Fuck you. Yeah,
Dude, that ain't nothing. I've done blazing wings.
Hey, how many squares?
Nowhere near blazing, bro. Nowhere near. Ghost pepper extra.
Paul,
No,
just do it.
I'm
It's
good.
not that bad.
No.
Dude, it's already subsiding. It's already
I
subsiding.
don't care. I don't want to do it. I'm okay with it, man. I'll go to work and eat my habanero ranch when I get there.
I'm alright. I'm alright. I don't know if it's going to get worse, but as of right now,
It's
okay.
actually leveling out. I didn't take a sip of whiskey.
woo, no water, no ice cream. I'm going to though. I'm gonna demolish that shit here in a moment.
Yeah, and then tomorrow when you're sitting on the potty, you can go, "Come on, ice cream!
Yeah.
Come on, ice cream!"
I'm gonna have to listen to like some Johnny Cash while that shit, dude. Something to get me in the zone for that. I need some dark music, like some
here's the
good
thing.
Johnny Cash, like some Sunday morning coming down, and I'm just gonna hold on to the toilet seat.
Here's the thing. I can't imagine the bathroom actually being.
Sunday morning.
I can't imagine the bathroom being that bad
Hold my head.
because this was such a small amount. Doesn't matter how hot it is. It was such a small amount. It's not like eating a ton of wings.
It will fuck you up, man.
It's not like eating a ton of peppers. This is one little thing.
That can line your whole intestines, bro.
Dude, it's literally in my chest. So
Uh-huh.
heavy right now.
I can feel it in the top of my stomach.
I'm a goddamn man though.
I can feel it in the top of my stomach and in my chest, but I don't know how it's gonna exit me. It shouldn't feel that way.
It'll be fine.
So how many squares of chocolate are in that thing?
9 total.
Wait,
it's
no.
it's a 3x3. Oh wait, I'm sorry. No, there's 10. So
12,
it's gotta
12 squares.
Be, yeah, so it's a.
We each did like a square and a half.
Whoo.
Are you
So-
thinking about doing it, Dan? If we send it your way?
No, oh no. But I'm thinking of an experiment because you have so many of these pieces left. What you guys could do is you could test out which works better for making the heat go away: water, or whiskey, or
Not
milk.
being a little bitch. That's
That's what it is.
And you could do that like on the podcast to close out the podcast over the next few weeks.
waves on
I
us.
actually already have an answer for that, by the way. Because I
Waves on
used
that
to.
one.
My dad, when I was a kid, he would pay me to eat hot peppers. I know that sounds weird, but he would literally like give me $1 to eat a fucking hot pepper and stuff. And I grew up eating tons of fucking spicy food, like Cajun food and all kinds of shit. Oh my god, sorry. What was I getting at? Oh, but I've tried lots of different things. Water, a lot of people say milk works really well, which milk does. To this day, the best solution that I've ever, not bread, not anything else, a spoon of sugar. Straight up,
Really?
a spoon of sugar, and you put it on your tongue, turn the spoon upside down in your mouth, and just let it soak there until the sugar completely dissolves.
Well, because no, it doesn't.
Dude, I'm good now. I
hard
mean, I
to
gotta
talk.
spit because it's making me like salivate a lot. It's really fucking up the saliva glands. But I'm good. I'm golden, Tony boy. It's not as bad as I thought it would be.
No, it's not as bad. It's not as bad.
It's not as bad as I thought it would be. I'm actually okay with it.
Because we're hitting the 6-minute threshold here, right?
Yes.
No, it's actually it's subsided from what it was a couple of minutes ago. It's not as bad.
Yeah, it's over. It's been like 10 minutes.
I don't think it's been that long,
Alright.
But yeah, Dan's been back on for 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah,
Probably
cool.
some bad content. I was expecting like some, oh man, I'm gonna throw my shirt off and run around the house.
That'll work though, man.
What
Dan.
company makes this? Because I'm immediately
Vat
gonna
9.
talk shit on you.
Or VAT 10, VAT 9.
Vat 10, Vat 9. Make some stronger chocolates. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for 18
Jesse, there's more there, eat it.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm ready for it.
It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, I'll put it that way.
Dan, thank you for joining, man. As always, appreciate you, especially man, because you're in the later parts of the hour.
I'm gonna Richard Nixon you on your way out, by the way.
Thanks for coming on, Dan. It's always a pleasure. I always like
Hey,
talking to you about
anytime,
stuff.
guys. I love
even
it.
when we disagree, it's good conversation.
Yeah, it's not always an agreement that produces, positive results.
Also,
Sometimes you find different ways of looking at stuff, and you go,
Just
hey,
people
you know
who
what? I hadn't
possibly
thought about it
growth.
that way.
One thing I'm gonna say is, Dan, I have a feeling we could disagree for an hour and a half and then get in heated arguments, and then next week you would be on the podcast and you'd be well prepared with arguments backing your side, and you would never not come back on the podcast. Right? You would never come
That's
back on the podcast? We've had
I would never not
individuals-
come back on.
Jesse,
My bad. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Yeah, my bad. Appreciate you, Dan. That's all I'm saying. I appreciate you, and you're very much in line with the format
also,
of this podcast.
I got to throw
We
this out
appreciate
there. I really like, we talked about it before it started, I really like your green screen, but it's, you know what I mean? It's hilarious to me because every once in a while when you move, there's a black spot above your head that pops up, and I literally, I don't know
Your
what.
granddaughter. It's your granddaughter's
Okay,
picture.
okay.
Is what it
Then
is.
no offense to your granddaughter for what I'm about to say. I promise
Very,
you, no
very
offense.
very dark-haired girl.
But every once in a while it pops up in the background, and I'm like, there's a ghost. right now. Like there's a ghost floating.
You'll see it on the podcast, man. It looks good though. I like the background. It's nice.
Yeah, I decided to just try out something different.
Yeah,
and
I gotta
see
get
how
one
it
of
works.
those actually. I started like streaming video games and stuff again. I gotta get me one of those. Woo!
Thanks as
All
always.
right.
Your Facebook is
Hey.
still. Is it still? Are you able to find your?
Oh yeah,
Facebook
if people
page?
want to find Dan,
Oh, yeah.
where should they go?
Yeah, both my regular Facebook page and you Jesse, you were right. It was Constitution US. I mean, Johnny, you were right. It was Constitution US. Constitution of the US is the name of the Facebook page.
Guys, Constitution of the or Constitution of us? Like,
Constitution of us is what's in the address bar,
gotcha.
but it's the Constitution of the United States is the title of the page.
Gotcha.
So yes, you were right.
And
Good
it,
deal.
and it is up and it's still going right now. I know you were banned for a little bit, but the page was never banned, and it.
I'll put
No,
a link.
page-
I'll put
the
a link
page
in
was
the
never
description. I'll put a link in the description.
So we'll show you where to find Dan in his page and all that good shit. But where you do find Dan is Talk Junkies, when we have great conversations. Dan from South Carolina, thank you so much for joining the show, man. You have so much to bring to the podcast. A lot of great information. We had good talks tonight about a lot of good things. You have a blessed night, my man.
Thank you. You too.
Always a pleasure.
I'll talk to
man.
y'all later.
Always
Bye,
a
Dan.
pleasure.
We'll see you. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Dan from the Constitution of the United States. Will, like Johnny said, he'll put the description below in the link where you can find him. There's a lot of great conversation that goes on that Facebook page about the Constitution. Again, when we ended the podcast, there was a lot of questions, and Johnny, you brought it to light on how much really the Constitution is even implemented in what's going on right now. And it really
Save this
isn't.
shit for my ex-wife.
And it really isn't. So if we want to get back to that, I think having these small podcasts and having the people on that we have and just talking and having conversation and great knowledge being spread within our community is the goal of Talk Junkies to get to that place, man.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Absolutely.
Honestly, to get
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Honestly,
I'm good, bro.
I'll be
I got
honest with you. Me, Johnny, and Jesse, we're probably going to go outside here shortly. We're going to smoke a few cigarettes, drink a few beers or Trulies, whatever you want to call it.
I will not be because I'm driving.
He
And
is
you should
driving.
always be responsible.
But when they do drive to their address where they live at, in the house that they
It's a
live
weird way to say it.
we are going to experience some Warzone. And we're going to play that, and we're going to do trios. And Johnny doesn't like trios, but we're going to hit it hard with some trios, man. And we're going to fucking kill it. We're going to hit it hard, and we're going to kill some motherfuckers on Warzone. We're going to dominate.
Okay, anyways.
But if you like this podcast we did with Dan,
Or if you hate it.
even if you hate it, tell us
Like
why you hate it.
Yeah, no, and then try to
If
get
you
on the
hate it, no,
podcast.
if you hate it, fucking dislike this shit, man. There's a dislike button.
Dislike
It's
it.
there for a reason.
Come on.
If you're gonna dislike it, then tell us why. But if
We're here for everybody. We want to hear everybody's shit. We want to have every possible angle on thought. We realize we are just simple human beings trying to make the best out of it, and coming up with intuitive, educational content. And if you have a different route to go around, dude, come on, man, come on.
Yeah,
I'm ready to talk to you. I'm ready to talk to you.
we're ready to
I won't
That's the whole
eat
point of
any
this
more of
channel. We
this.
just like talking to people.
We won't make you do this. This is the gimmick. It's so gimmicky.
It is super gimmicky.
Oh my god.
I'm glad I tried it though to say that I.
No, yeah,
Tried it,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. 9 million Scoville.
So what you could do, honestly, to help this channel out is just share the shit out of this video. Then like the video,
Comment
post it on Facebook or
on your
Twitter,
Zanga. On your Zanga.
Zanga,
MySpace still there.
MySpace, yeah, Tom, he's there. Let him post it, man. Let
Your-
Tom always
Your,
sneaking his
your
way into my top
OnlyFans,
8.
if somehow you could post it on your OnlyFans.
Yeah.
I know there's a couple dudes out there that are trying to get money from those dick pics, so.
do all those
do that.
things, honestly.
Do all those things.
Do all those things. Phoenix Finley, I love you. To all our junkies out there, stay fly.
And ring the bell. This is my Richard Nixon. I'm not a criminal. Richard Nixon. Ring the bell. Horrible Richard Nixon. Oh.
Oh
All
shit!
right.
Did you stop it?
Yeah.
Fuck, I was gonna clap sync. It's all good. I'll figure
Oh
it out.
my god. Alright.
I'm okay now.
I just need like 2 more seconds.
I'm okay.
You don't still feel that?